Welcome to Shaggyshane's Kansas City Chiefs NFL mock draft, Saturday night, April 22nd, 2017. I want to appreciate all my followers on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, following me talking about Kansas City Chiefs. Today, helping me on this mock draft preview for the Kansas City Chiefs is none other than my good friend, Lance Twidwell of The Spoken. I caught a hold of Lance Twidwell and his being a guest on 610 Sports, The Practice Squad, back in 2012 and 13. And I thought to myself, man, it'd be cool to sit alongside him sometime and break down Kansas City Chiefs talk. He knows his football, he knows his sports. Check out The Spoken on Facebook. He was also a host on 89.7 FM KWJP for 4 years talking sports. Lance, how the hell's it going, buddy?
It's going great, guys. I'm just glad to finally hang out with you because Shane and I don't get to do this very often. Sports is obviously something that brought us together, and I think that it only makes sense for us to talk about something as relevant as this one is, especially this particular draft. I'm just excited to do this finally. I feel like Tim Tebow at his Jets press conference. I'm excited. But I'm excited, and as you can see by Shane's fist, I think he's got a little exuberance in him as well. So this is really good. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you, Shane, for having me.
Hey, man, no problem. It's an exciting time to be a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Let's get right to it.
Yep.
A lot of mock drafts. I'm going to go with my mock draft here. With the 27th overall pick, the Kansas City Chiefs will select a quarterback. For the first time in 34 years, the Kansas City Chiefs will draft a quarterback in the first round. It will either be Deshaun Watson or somebody that I prefer the most, Patrick Mahomes out of Texas Tech. The kid's a gunslinger. He's got a lot of raw athletic ability that I feel if he sits in 2017 and learns the Kansas City Chiefs offense behind Andy Reid in this offense and learns the NFL, he'll be ready to go in 2018 when Alex Smith and his contract expires. Lance, what's your take on that? And who do you think the Chiefs will draft in the first round?
Well, let me just first say I hope Shane is right, and it's like this for me, and Shane can attest to this. He's still new on Twitter, but that's what I've been notorious for. I'm that guy on Twitter that's always been the guy that says quarterback in the first round. You know, we sit here, we break down, and I understand why. We break down which quarterback it should be, which one seems the most pro-ready, which one has the most potential, which one has the most talent, which is the smartest. All those things are relevant. For me, I've gotten to this desperation mode as a Chiefs fan, as someone who follows this team so closely, that I've gotten to the point where and actually Shane touched on it in a video after the season ended, where it's like, you know what, it almost gets to the point where you just want to see them just take that chance. That's really what the context and the principle of this desire from us Chiefs fans is. It's not even just about which quarterback it is, it's just taking that chance. And if they fail, it's okay. Just knowing that we at least took that shot is what I'm looking for. And so, yes, Deshaun Watson is the one that comes off the board for me immediately. I want Deshaun Watson because I saw the poise against a team like Alabama, which you have to take that seriously because that's the best opponent you're going to face in college, and he destroyed them. He absolutely destroyed them on the biggest stage. Of course I want Deshaun Watson. Patrick Mahomes has all the capabilities, all the intangibles, the strong arm. He has that it factor about him. I am okay with either one of those guys. I'm okay with Trubisky. I'm okay with anybody. I have my favorites, but like I said, I'm at the point, Shane, where I just want that quarter. I want to be able to see Goodell holding up a Chiefs jersey with another quarterback in the first round, and they're going to Kansas City that next season. That's what I want to see.
Exactly, you know, and a lot of the Chiefs' fears, and I'm one of them. My fear was drafting a quarterback in the first round. But if you can see, let's take a look back here and see where the Chiefs have missed on quarterbacks and what they were thinking at that time. Because everybody says when they want to draft their quarterback or their player in the first round, they say, what would work best? Zach Cunningham out of Vanderbilt, he'd be a good pick in the first round. What about King, the defensive back out of Washington? He'd be great. What about the cornerback Tre'Davious White out of LSU? They would be great quarterbacks. Cornerbacks to pick, and players, linebacker, like I said, Zach Cunningham in the first round. Those would be good players to pick with the 27th pick. But you're picking for now. And like I said, let's go back to 2001 during that offseason. Right before the 2001 season, what were the Chiefs thinking? Elvis Grbacht's leaving. Should we get Drew Brees out of Purdue? He'll be available in the middle of the first round. No, we got Elvis Grbacht left. We got Dick Vermeil and Trent Green. We wanted to implement the St. Louis Rams high-scoring offense. So what did the Chiefs do? They traded their first and second round draft pick in 2001 for Trent Green and Dick Vermeil. Fast forward to 2005. The Chiefs were 15th selection overall in the first round. It came time. The Carolina Panthers just picked Thomas Davis. It was up for the Kansas City Chiefs. It was their selection. The Chiefs were now on the clock. In 2005, what did the Kansas City Chiefs do? They took somebody I wanted. I was saying, please, please, the time's on, we're on the clock. Derek Johnson, Derek Johnson. The people said, what about Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback out of Cal? I'm guilty. I said, no, we don't need a quarterback now. We got Trent Green and Todd Collins on the roster. We don't need Aaron Rodgers. We need Derek Johnson out of Texas. And my wishes were granted. Yes, we got Derek Johnson. We didn't take Aaron Rodgers. And what has Derek Johnson been? He's been solid middle linebacker for the last 13 years as a middle linebacker. But we missed on Aaron Rodgers. Let's go to 2012, the last draft under Scott Pioli. The Chiefs were thinking, okay, we got to get this team back into the playoffs. We were in the playoffs 2 years ago. In the third round, the Kansas City Chiefs took offensive tackle out of Oklahoma with Russell Wilson still out there waiting to be drafted. We could have took Russell Wilson. Kirk Cousins, a quarterback, went to the fourth round. What does that tell you, Kansas City Chiefs fans? What does that tell you, Clark Hunt? What does it tell Chiefs Kingdom worldwide? We always take the time to draft for now, and we're missing on these future quarterbacks. That's why it is paramount that the Kansas City Chiefs take a quarterback in the first round. What do you think, Lance?
I mean, that's to me that should be a consensus agreement with any fan that spends any time, money, energy, emotion, quite frankly, which I think we pass on all of those. Anybody that puts any of those into a Chiefs team, anybody that watches this team at all, at any length, that cares about this team at all, that wants to see this team succeed, that should be a consensus agreement that this is the first and foremost. And furthermore, man, it only makes sense, especially now, because John Dorsey has laid this groundwork down where he always drafts a replacement player. You'll get a guy, you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. We have this guy there. And then the next year or the year after that, that player is gone, and that kid he drafted, therefore, takes that spot. It only makes sense for that to happen now, especially because Alex Smith is not exactly a young man anymore. He's in his 30s. He's shown his inabilities far more than he ever did before. He already had them. Now he's showing them even more.
Alex Smith will be 34 years old next month.
That's the point. Is you're looking at replacement players. Well, if the most important position on the field is quarterback, it's only common sense to use that same methodology at that position. And that's where I stand. And when it comes to what Shane's saying about passing up on quarterbacks in the draft, the Chiefs have been notorious at it. The Aaron Rodgers one, guys, Derek Johnson is my favorite Chiefs player of all time. I've said that. He's arguably the best defender they've ever had, besides, obviously, Derek Thomas. But when we're looking at Derek Johnson and the accomplishments he's had, it's all true, and it's all there, and it's valid, and I would take him 100 times over. But when it comes to passing up and the price that they had to pay of passing up on arguably the greatest quarterback of this generation in Aaron Rodgers, the way I look at it is, when it comes to who I would rather have, it isn't even about Derek Johnson. I would trade any Chiefs player of all time for Aaron Rodgers because he is a transcendent player. He is somebody that you plug into a team system, regardless if it's a West Coast or any other type of system. He's going to come in and automatically change the entire landscape of a franchise. He's proven that. He came in, didn't just take a great franchise further, he replaced one of the 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time in Brett Favre and took it further. He's done things that Brett Favre didn't do. And that's the point, is that you have to see the value in that. Derek Johnson, love him. But I would trade guys like Derek Johnson. I would have gladly have taken Aaron Rodgers, the risk for Aaron Rodgers, over even guys like DJ. That's how serious this is. That's how serious the Chiefs need to take it. And in our opinion, and I'm not speaking just for Shane, but we've had our discussions, we should demand nothing less than that. And that's what we've been talking about since the Pioli era. When we met, it was, there is no excuse to throw out a guy like Matt Castle out there anymore. There's no excuse to throw guys like Alex Smith out there anymore. There has to be a change, but not just a semi-change, the real change, because the way we've perceived it to this point is the Chiefs are more afraid of ever being bad than never being great.
Right.
And how you start that, how you change that methodology is you answer the biggest need on any team, the most important position, the quarterback position.
Definitely. And Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 seasons. He sat for 3 seasons behind Brett Favre, the 2005, 6, 7 season. And Aaron Rodgers' first season as a starter, the Green Bay Packers were 6-10. John Dorsey was a scout. He for the Packers during that time. John Dorsey knows what it takes to build within a quarterback and watch him grow. Now, with that being said, we have to go to the John Dorsey era of the Kansas City Chiefs when talking about this quarterback situation. Teddy Bridgewater and Johnny Manziel were hyped in the middle round of the 2014 NFL Draft. Now, here's where the problem, in my opinion, here's where me and you disagree. When the Chiefs first brought in John Dorsey and they said, we want to bring Alex Smith as a quarterback, I said, yes, but you don't have to give up 2 second-round draft picks. When the 49ers put Alex Smith out there that he was going to be, they were going to let him go or trade him, the Kansas City Chiefs jumped up and said, we'll give you 2 second-rounders. We'll give you 2 second-rounders.
That's how they said it. That's literally how they said it.
Exactly. While 30 other teams went, really? You're gonna give 2 second-rounders for Alex Smith? Yeah. And I thought, wait a minute, well, hold on. Let's get Alex Smith, but let's get him for a 5th or a 6th round draft pick. We don't need to give him 2 second-rounders because with the Chiefs giving up 2 second-rounders for Alex Smith, what it did for the 2014 draft, it left anybody who would say, if the Chiefs are going to draft a quarterback in the 1st round, why would they do that when they just traded 2 second-round draft picks the year before? If John Dorsey would have said, we'll give you 49ers a 6th-round draft pick for Alex Smith, then the Chiefs could have taken Derek Carr in the 1st round with Alex Smith. We have to remember this, ladies and gentlemen. Alex Smith in the 2014 season, was supposed to be his final year under his old contract. Chiefs could, like I was saying, the Chiefs could have taken Derek Carr and then had him watch Alex Smith that season, the 2014 season. He could have learned the offense and watch Alex Smith complete 0 passes to any wide receiver on the roster and then took over in 2015. But, like I said, since the Chiefs threw 2 second-round picks for Alex Smith, they overpaid for him. Yeah. And then they gave Alex Smith, of course, August of 2014, that monster extension.
Yeah. No, and that's the issue I had. It wasn't just because the fact that Chiefs brought him, it's what price they gave up for a guy who'd been benched 5 times in 7 years in San Francisco, who clearly was not the answer. He went 1 for 14 on 3rd downs in the NFC Championship against the Niners, lost by 3 points. The next season, Colin Kaepernick, who had no experience, no expectations, leads that same roster to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying he was the only reason. The point was he elevated their game, especially on the offensive side, and had a great game in the Super Bowl, just couldn't stop the Ravens. My point is, guys, is that Alex Smith, to me, was just more of the same. And that's why I was upset, because I'm 29. I have seen this team do the exact same thing every single time when it comes to free agents, when it comes to the draft. And we can rehash on it, and I'm okay with it because it's all I really know is the mediocrity and the acceptance of mediocrity from both the team and the fan base, at least in a large number of it. And Alex Smith coming over here, it made me realize one thing. Andy Reid was not serious about the future at the quarterback position. Now, everyone praises him as this, quarterback guru. He's been able to develop guys, but I look at Andy Reid's highest successes in Philadelphia. I look at John Dorsey's highest successes in Green Bay, and I go, is it coincidental to you that the quarterbacks that they had at those times were guys they took in the 1st round? Aaron Rodgers, John Dorsey in Green Bay, Donovan McNabb, 1st round, Philadelphia. I mean, for Andy Reid, it's no coincidence, and that's what upset me is I felt like they had a really... Granted, the 2013 draft didn't have a ton of great talent at quarterback.
We didn't want Geno Smith. We didn't want Geno.
Yeah, that's fine, and he obviously has worked out to be nothing. The point is, I wanted to see this team say, you know what? This is a new regime. We're going to take it to a new level. If he is the quarterback guru they're claiming him to be, I felt like even if it's such a risk to take a quarterback, that's a risk that would be okay because we have a guy in place at the head coaching position that knows how to mold it better than most, if not all. And that was my position. And I felt like they just went so safe, so vanilla, just like every other regime previous. So they really weren't a new regime. It was just more of the same with different faces and a different mustache. That's the way I looked at it. Right. And so that was the frustration I had. I understand why Alex Smith was a safe guy to bring over, but I never felt like, you know what, this is taking us to that next level where we can start competing for Super Bowls. Yeah, we might win more regular season games, but we've seen that in the 90s. We saw that in the early 2000s. What did that accumulate to?
Right.
No Super Bowl appearances, no playoff wins, unless you want to count the Brian Hoyer playoff victory in Texas. Besides that, there has been really not much to accumulate in the Alex Smith era, and quite frankly, any quarterback era dating way back 40, 50 years.
Right. Yeah, you know, and like I said, the rebuttal to some people is that we wanted Geno Smith. No, we didn't want Geno Smith. We needed it. I would have taken Alex Smith for giving him up, for not giving up 2 seconds, because like I said, that was a serious overpayment. You know, let's go ahead and go to the second round. I like Alvin Kamara, running back out of Tennessee. What have you seen about that kid? You like what you've seen? I think it's working with our offense.
Yes, absolutely, because he can catch out of the backfield. That's what I really like about him, is his ability to stretch the offense. We need that. I mean, when you can add a running back with Travis Kelce's ability to catch in the short slants and go deep down the field, with Tyreek Hill's intangibles, with Macklin if he can stay healthy, with his ability, I think that it would only take this. Now, granted, we're basing this off of an Alex Smith offense, so we have to kind of be, you know, realistic here. We're not looking at, you know, big home run touchdowns, but I think with a running back has to be an immediate answer. The Chiefs, or a question they have to answer immediately, whether it is in the second round or the third round. It has to be something they answer immediately. But in my opinion, I feel like the Chiefs should take a linebacker in the second round. That's my opinion.
Okay. Just
because of the fact that although Derrick Johnson's expected to be back for the season, and I think at a healthy, you know, 95 to 100%, Derrick Johnson, even at his advanced age, is still going to be a guy you can rely on. Regardless of that, you still need somebody next to him. And honestly, I'm not the names guy, because to me it's more about a system. I can name you guys that I see in this draft, and I know you have a list that's awesome. For me, I just want to see them answer a position, and a linebacker is the position I want to see them take in the second round.
Good point. And people talk corner as well. Like I said, I mentioned the names I mentioned in the first round would be good players for the now.
Yeah.
For the now. And like you said, and if I said look for a linebacker in the draft named Javonte Jones out of Jackson State, I like him in the fourth round. Chiefs have 2 5ths and 2 6ths, and by that time in the draft, ladies and gentlemen, you just want to get the best player available. If there's somebody out there that you feel, if Dorsey feels the best player available in the 5th and 6th round, that's what they want to go to. All right, let's talk trading on the first day of the draft. I can't say who the Chiefs are going to trade up or how much they will give up. I just want to run this idea by you, Lance, just because of the fact that I think it would be a good idea. What do you think about the possibilities? Digest this a second. He has no idea what I'm about to ask him.
This is all organic here.
Yes. What do you think about the idea of trading Travis Kelce up in the first round to move up in the draft? My point with him, great guy, great tight end. He has a future. He could probably even be a Hall of Famer. But right now, in my opinion, this is my opinion, not Lance's, he's immature. He does foolish things on the field. He got kicked out of a game last year against Jacksonville that nearly cost us a victory. And in the playoff game, for no apparent reason, shoves down a defensive back, dead ball foul, 15-yard penalty. At that time, the Chiefs were driving. They're trailing 15-10 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. They're driving the ball down the field. Alex Smith is to blame in that game as well. He missed 2 open receivers that he jumped out of the pocket and didn't give his chance to let his receivers on the route because he panicked. So other players had to step up. Travis Kelce shoves down a defensive player. 2 plays before he shoves down a defensive back, he drops the ball in his hand. He dropped the ball in his hand at the 8-yard line. If Kelce catches that pass in the playoff game, he's at the 8-yard line tackled. The Chiefs are set up shop to go in to score a touchdown and to go up 2 points in the fucking playoff game. Excuse my language. So, like I said, everybody loves Kelce. He's a magnetic guy. He's got an awesome personality. He had his own reality show that the women love. And in my opinion, I think he could probably even be a Hall of Famer. But if the chances came up, if the Chiefs could move from 27 to 15 by giving up Travis Kelce, I would in a heartbeat. Tell me what you think, Mr. Twidwell.
Well, I wasn't expecting that. I'll be pretty honest with you guys. I was expecting, Shane to be excited about something. I knew he was going to bring something hot like that, and honestly, I don't have a real problem with it. I think that Kelce is at a position that isn't necessarily something of dramatic importance unless you have a Gronkowski or a Travis Kelce or a Greg Olsen type of player that just sets themselves apart from the rest of the league. I like Travis Kelce on this team a lot. I think that he's very valuable when he's utilized. The problem, though, is I don't think he gets utilized like he could be at several other stops in the NFL. Now, I will address the fact that you are bringing up some valid points about his attitude, about his character.
Would you be surprised if the Patriots game week 1, he does it again? I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't, guys, and that is a serious problem. We can, we overlook it a lot of times because, and especially in Kansas City, we're both from here. We know what this city's like. If they're loyal to a player, they'll overlook a lot of stuff. Right. You know what I mean? Even people still love Alex Smith, and they know he's keeping this offense back. But we love him because why? Because he's nice and he doesn't really cause a lot of problems. Travis Kelce is on the flip side where he's really, really good, but he causes a lot of problems. But people love him. He sells jerseys. And he does a lot of charity events. And people look over those things. But it is a glaring problem. He has, in some forms and consciousness, caused this team some problems and has affected the team negatively. I will defend Kelce in one regard, though. I do think that with time and with a quarterback he knows is going to involve him in the offense more often, that those things can be honed in a little bit more. Now, if they do trade him, I'm not necessarily saying, oh my God, it's the end of the world. I'll be shocked because I don't think they're going to do that.
I don't think they will either.
But if they do, I don't want 15. I want further down. I'm greedy. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a greedy Chiefs fan. I want this team to go after the 12th pick, the 11th pick, because I don't think you can just trade Travis Kelce. You're going to trade Travis Kelce and a conditional pick, a third rounder, something of that sort. Because if you're trading from 27 to the teens, low teens, you have to give up something more than, like I said, a luxury position. Because that's what Travis Kelce is. He's a luxury position. And unless he's going to a team that utilizes the tight end position a lot, it's not going to matter to that team. So they're going to be like, okay, what else are you giving us?
Right.
Yeah, he's talented, but we don't have a quarterback in a system that utilizes him unless it's, like I said, a Patriot-style offense. They're not going to utilize him like maybe the Chiefs would like to, or like us fans believe he's capable of producing in a system that can, utilize the tight end position better.
Yeah, right. Like I said, the sky's the limit for Travis Kelce. He's got the potential to be the number 1 tight end in the NFL. It's just that after he dropped a key important pass, like I said, 2 plays later, he shoves down a defensive back. Then afterwards in the locker room, he's blaming the official on a 2-point on Eric Fisher's holding penalty. Gosh dang, man. He's got a lot of growing up to do. But I just feel that he'd be an awesome person to trade up with in the draft because the Chiefs got the Cowboys' second string tight end. His name escapes me at this time in free agency last month. I think he'll come in. He'll be an important factor to the team. Looking at the schedule just came out this week, Lance. What do you think? Give me a record for the Kansas City Chiefs going into the 2017. What's your prediction this year?
Well, I'm going to break my own rule right now. I've never given out predictions previous to the draft. I've always said that. I never do that just because of the fact I don't think it's fair to the team. But because I'm with my dude Shaggy right here, I'm going to break that rule. The way I look at it just right now is the team is, knowing the problems they have on offense, knowing the issues they have on defense or the holes they need to fill, I'm going to say the Chiefs are going to go 9-7 this year just because of the fact, like I said, they said it is the toughest schedule in the NFL at this point right now, just based off of previous records from their opponents coming into this year. I think with all the primetime games, and we know how the Chiefs are not just underperformed, but have tanked. And in primetime games, I don't like the chances of the Chiefs competing in most of those games. I'm going to say they're going to squeak into the wild card position at 9-7, and that's where I'm at right now. I'll probably change it a little bit after the draft. I'll probably become more of a homer.
So 9-7. 9-7 for Lance. All right, this is the most important stat I'm going to give on the show. The most important stat. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you need to take heed and listen to. Throughout the Kansas City Chiefs history, when the Kansas City Chiefs have won the division and lost in the first round of the playoffs, that next year they missed the playoffs. In 1971, the Kansas City Chiefs, longest game in the NFL season, playoff game, all they had to do was win 2 games and they go to Super Bowl VI. They lost. They opened up that next season at Arrowhead Stadium, brand spanking new. The Kansas City Chiefs finished 8-6, second place. They missed the playoffs. In 1995, Chiefs were the #1 seed, home field advantage, and they lost in the playoffs. Next year, they finished 9-7. They missed the playoffs. 1997, the Kansas City Chiefs are 13-3, #1 seed. First game, they lost. How'd they do the next year? 7-9. They missed the playoffs. 2003, the Kansas City Chiefs were the #2 seed. Had a bye. Playoff game. Lost. The next year, they were 7-9. 2010, the Kansas City Chiefs won the division at 10-6. The next year, they were 8-8 and missed the playoffs. 2016, your Kansas City Chiefs are the #2 seed. AFC West champions. They get a bye. They lose in the playoffs. How are they going to do in 2017? If that stat falls, if we keep playing, if that stat keeps going, if we keep playing by that cycle, then the Kansas City Chiefs will be 7-9 and miss the playoffs in 2017. I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. I want this team to take off and continue and go. But if I go by just this, like I said, stat, then I'm going to go with the Chiefs will finish 7-9. But if they draft a quarterback in this year's draft in the first round, that quarterback will be ready to go in 2018. Alex Smith has a contract with 2 years left on his contract. I'm going to go back to this. Yep. They can get out of his contract before his last year, at the end of this year, and they wouldn't have to have a year where he's in limbo his last season. Yeah, no, and I think that's what they're going to have to do, because I don't see how Alex Smith is all of a sudden just going to turn it on. Yes, have a career year. His stats declined. He was. Yeah. And we're not just hating on Alex Smith. This isn't the hate on Alex Smith show. This is to do something that we haven't done. We need to think outside of the box. We need to think big picture. Because in 2001, trading for Trent Green was a lot better than getting Drew Brees. And in 2005, picking up Derek Johnson at that time, picking up Derek Johnson was a lot better than getting Aaron Rodgers. And in 2011, at that time, picking up a left tackle in the 3rd round was a lot better than taking Russell Wilson or Kirk Cousins. And in 2014, at that time, picking up D Ford was better than picking up Derek Carr. We got to think big picture. We can't think 2017. We have to think 2018, 2019, and 2020. We have to think of our franchise quarterback because it has been 34 years since the Chiefs have drafted a quarterback in the first round. 4 playoff wins in that span, by the way. Yes. I mean, that's not a coincidence to me. You look at teams that, I mean, you're talking about the Patriots here, guys. Let's use them because let's be honest, they're like the Yankees of the NFL. They're the team that's constantly in contention. They always have the guys that you love to hate or hate to love. They're always there. They're always in the mainstream media. They're always in the limelight, and there's a reason why that, because they win and they do the things that a winning franchise does. And if this is a copycat league, why in the hell are the Chiefs doing any different? Granted, I know Tom Brady is the exception. He was the 199th pick in the 2000 draft. I know that you never will see a quarterback. You never saw a quarterback like him before in the 6th round become what he is. You'll never see it again. The point is, they still took risk. In the middle of Tom's prime, they were taking quarterbacks in the 2nd and 3rd rounds. Just a couple of years ago, while they were still Tom Brady's still playing at a high level, they get Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, these are the things that teams like that do because they know that it's not forever. And if these types of teams who already have one of the greatest, if not the greatest quarterback on their roster, still playing great football. Brett Favre, 33 years old in Green Bay, was still playing really good football. They drafted Aaron Rodgers in the 1st round. He was not a need. Jimmy Garoppolo was not a need. The Chiefs have needed a quarterback since 1983, and they still don't address it. We haven't had Tom Brady's. Trent Green was a really good quarterback, but he was a system guy who was a statue in the pocket that didn't play in good and big games. That's what we're saying, guys. Is the best that we can conjure up from the history of the Chiefs don't even come close to guys that great teams have taken that have drafted and developed. Why is it any different if this is a copycat league? That's the question I continue to ask, and I can't get a straight answer. I can't get it. I'm asking that question, and I'm asking that question as well. And the vibe coming out of Arrowhead Stadium. The Chiefs have lost 5 straight home playoff games. I've been to them all. And the vibe coming out of Arrowhead Stadium as the Chiefs fans exited was, Alex Smith is not the answer. Chiefs fans are smart. They know, hey, his stats were down. He only threw 15 touchdowns this year. The Chiefs Kingdom knows, wow.
Yeah.
They know if Alex Smith starts to struggle, that shit's going to hit the fan. Just like it did in 2012 with Matt Castle in the Scott Puley era. John Dorsey has won. His rebuttal to Shaggyshane and Lance Twidwell can be, hey, I've won, I've been here, we've won, but we want to have our own franchise quarterback so we could watch him grow and win playoff games. Winning consistently in the NFL, the Chiefs the last 4 years, is like having backstage passes to the Rolling Stones or Metallica. Yeah, you could be backstage, but if you don't see the band, you're going to have a shitty view of the stage. You're going to be off to the side looking at the band play. You could say, yeah, I was backstage, but I didn't meet the band.
Yeah.
John Dorsey, we want to meet the band. We want to meet our franchise quarterback. We want to address it. We want to address it now in the first round. You have ways to get Deshaun Watson or Deshaun Kaiser, who I think will be available in the second round, or my favorite, Patrick Mahomes. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
You know, Lance, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you being here, breaking down the situation. We have covered the draft a lot. Let's look at positions real quick before we go. I like Terrence Mitchell as our opposite corner right now. Get a defensive back in the draft to address it, to learn from the rest of the entire Chiefs secondary. What do you think, cornerback?
Oh, Terrence Mitchell played very well. We just don't know if it's going to be a longevity type of thing. I mean, Marcus Cooper had great stints. And where's Marcus Cooper now? You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing is these guys will have good flashes of pan in the pan because they're desperate to stay on a roster. Right. Once they get a little comfortable, sometimes these guys get exposed and there's more film on them. I think Terrence Mitchell's going to get a legit shot to be that other corner aside from Marcus Peters. But the Chiefs clearly need to go and they need to get a cornerback in the first 5 rounds. There's no question about that. And this is from what the experts, because I'm no expert, they're saying this is one of those heavy cornerback draft. So if you wait a few rounds, that's okay with me. Just go and get a guy, develop him, let Terrence Mitchell get that starting position, and let them fight it out. For me, it's competition. You got to get camp bodies in there, and especially at a cornerback position where the Chiefs had a lot of struggles before Terrence Mitchell really shined on that opposite end of Marcus Peters. That is, to me, common sense. The Chiefs need to address that. Obviously, quarterback, linebacker, running back, and then to me, it's got to be corner after that. It's got to be.
Right.
There's no question about it.
The Chiefs, I want to go back to offense just for a second. The Chiefs have weapons at wide receiver. Tyreek Hill can get open.
Yeah.
I like Conley. Macklin, he had an off year. He was hurt quite a bit. He didn't look the same after his injury. We hope that he can rebound because we got a lot of money invested in him. But going back to defense, if we can address the middle linebacker position, Ramik Wilson played good.
Yes.
And Derek Johnson's loss, we don't know how much we're going to be able to get from Derek Johnson going into his 13th year.
Yeah.
But
let me say something about the wide receiver position real quick, though.
Okay.
And then this might offend some people because I know everyone's talking about they need to address the wide receiver position. Guys, in my opinion, the wide receiver position is a lot like the tight end position in a lot of ways. If you look at some of the all-time great wide receivers, Megatron, Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, Chris Carter, a lot of those great all-time receivers won nothing. And I'm not blaming them. My point is that teams aren't built from the sidelines in. They're built from the inside out. That's how you win great. Quarterback, get yourself a great offensive line, get yourself, in position for that pass rushers on the opposite end. That's how you win Super Bowls. That's how you get to that position. So wide receiver to me is not even relevant when it comes to building a championship team. They're nice to have, but 4 straight years the Eagles went to the NFC Championship with Andy Reid. The 3 of those 4 years, can you name me their their best wide receiver? I mean, they had Terrell Owens the one time, but he was hurt.
Todd Pinkston?
Exactly. And Todd Pinkston, I mean, come on, we're talking Todd Pinkston here, guys. Jeremy Maclin would run circles around that dude. That's my point. So when it comes to that, it's more of a luxury. It's nice to have. It's like that Bentley in your garage. Oh, it's nice. It's really, you can't drive it in the winter seasons. So that's my point, guys. You got to be able to have that F-150, the Chevy truck, the ones that can get you through the meat and potatoes. That's what you got to look for in the draft, and that's just my opinion.
Right. And a lot great points. And a lot of people will say, well, the Chiefs need to address the offensive line. Here's the offensive line, folks. As it stands currently, I don't think it's going to be addressed early because you have left tackle, number 1 overall pick, Eric Fisher. He's not going anywhere. Left guard, Parker Ehringer. He was solid last year. He got hurt week 7 against the Colts. The Chiefs had a great running game with him as your left guard. He's not going anywhere. Your center, Mitch Morse, second-round draft pick in the 2015 draft out of Missouri. He's not going anywhere. Right guard, Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. The Chiefs just gave him a massive 5-year extension. He's not going anywhere. Right tackle, Mitchell Schwartz. The Chiefs signed a free agency last year to a huge deal. He's not going anywhere. So if the Chiefs are going to draft anywhere on the offensive line, I guess you could say, well, they may bring in a guard to challenge Parker Ehringer since he got hurt. But that offensive line set. I look for that offensive line to be the case. And they struggled last year when Ehringer went out, when Zach Fulton had to come in and play left guard. So I think that offensive line is going to stay set.
I agree. To me, guys, I think that the Chiefs are going to look into what is available in the mid-rounds. I think that the Chiefs will sign some free agent offensive linemen just for camp bodies. That's what they need to do. You have to. Any NFL team out there that has any common sense at all is going to fill the offensive line as much as they can because it's such a physically demanding position. They say the equivalence of taking 25 to 45 car wrecks per game for the normal offensive lineman. That's a lot on a body. Even though these guys are big, it takes its toll. And that's why guys like Will Shields being able to play as many games as they did consecutively is just so outstanding. But my point is, I think that the Chiefs are clearly going to address that. But Shane is absolutely right. This team has their offensive line, whether it's a great offensive line or an average offensive line or ends up becoming a horrible offensive line. Yeah, like I was saying, it's the structure. I think the offensive line is set. Shane is absolutely correct. And I think this is the offensive line you will see. I'd be shocked if one of those guys isn't starting coming into at least week one.
Right.
I'd be shocked.
And let's go to the defensive line. Just today, Jay Howard was released. Just today. Nobody saw it coming. Last week, Andy Reid told the media that Jay Howard is working out in Orlando, rehabbing his injured hip that caused him to miss the last 7 games of the season, and he's doing fine. At this time, we don't know what has happened with Jay Howard, why it would cause him to be released. Some people think, oh, well, they're going to go defensive lineman in the first round of the draft. I sure as hell hope not. But I think that Dominic Nunez-Roches was solid in Jay Howard's replacement. The Chiefs could pick up some free agents. We haven't scoured the free agency wire for defensive linemen at this time. But I know at this time I don't have any information on why Jay Howard was hurt. What do you think about that?
I mean, the Chiefs are so notoriously secretive about this type of stuff that it doesn't surprise me that we have no idea why or why it's so sudden or why, there was no even speculation of why it's happening. But to me, guys, I think, and no disrespect to Jay, because Jay is awesome. I love the guy. He's so physical. Every time he was on the field, he performed, I think, at max capacity, at his highest potential. I don't think, though, that the Chiefs are going to suffer losses simply because we didn't have Jay Howard. I think he is replaceable. That is a revolving door type of, it's a type of position where you can live with having average players there for the majority of a season. Obviously, we missed him for about half of the season last year, and a lot of times we didn't even notice it. There was a lot of times the Chiefs played decent. The problem, obviously, was the rush. That they couldn't stop a nosebleed when it came to the rush, but I don't think it's because Jay Howard was missing. I think it was just because there was a system problem. Bob Sutton didn't know how to adjust when he needed to adjust, and also the Chiefs just ran into a lot of really good running backs down the stretch. I think that's a given. I mean, Le'Veon Bell was doing that to every defense he faced, good and bad. So, Dontari Poe not being there, Jay Howard not being there, it is a concern. I want to trust the Chiefs. See, I trust the Chiefs in a lot of positions outside of quarterback because they don't address that one. So I do trust that the Chiefs are going to find somebody in there that next year we're going to be like, oh my gosh, this guy's good. Maybe it's Roaches. Maybe it's somebody they pick up in free agency, an undrafted player that just becomes a camp body, ends up shining. You never know, because I guarantee you didn't hear about Jay Howard. I didn't hear about Jay Howard before he was a Chief.
Right.
I never heard about this guy, and all of a sudden he's on the starting roster and he's killing it. So I believe there's going to be another Jay Howard that comes through here. And heck, we don't know. Maybe Jay Howard does rehab it and the Chiefs re-sign him. That stuff happens often too. We see that happen where teams are like, okay, he's in a good place. Let's bring you back. We're comfortable with you. You know us. We know you. You're productive. You're still in your 20s. Let's get you back. That can happen too. So there's a lot of possibilities. I don't think that there's going to be something drastic that happens there in the negative sense. I think the Chiefs answer that position.
Well, and defense tackle Benny Logan, got him 1 year in free agency. We got Alan Bailey coming back. As I mentioned, we got Dominic Nunez-Roches. D Ford, Chiefs got a chance to take his 5th-year option in 2 weeks. Yeah. Do we take his 5th-year option or do we let him play?
Listen, man, I think D Ford is a good player.
He had 10 sacks, only sack in the playoffs.
But he didn't have a sack for, the last 2 months of the season? I mean, we're talking about a guy who just had one extreme to the other as far as the season is concerned. And to be honest with you, not to take it away from him, I am going to take it away from him, though. When it mattered the most, D Ford disappeared, and that's always been my knock on this kid. When you're a first-round pick, I hold you to first-round expectations. And he has not lived up to it, even with the 10 sacks. If you look at the teams he faced, if you look at the tackles he faced, they were cream puffs. And I'm just being real with you guys. D Ford has very rarely ever played well against a good offensive line. He played well against the Raiders, but there's something about that when the Chiefs play the Raiders, they all seem to, even Alex Smith has had really good games against the Raiders. I believe it was a couple of years ago, he had a 5-touchdown game. When was the last time you saw Alex Smith have a 5-touchdown game? That's my point, guys, is I think that it was a little skewed just because of the rivalry and knowing he's playing against the Raiders, he wanted to show up. I don't like D Ford long term. I don't think he's a guy we need to look at long term. I think we've seen the best of D Ford. I appreciate what he's done, but I don't want to see him for another 5 to 6 years. That's just my opinion.
Right. He's great against San Diego. The game against San Diego, he played against King Dunlap or something. I
think it was Hairston. He had like 4 sacks against that one game, and Hairston's not even in the league right now.
Right. And it's a shame because we could have drafted Derek Carr, but we took D Ford. But I already made that point.
You keep making it. It's okay. It's valid.
I know. The safeties, Ron Parker, Daniel Sorensen, Eric Berry, he had to come back. I like our safeties.
Yeah. There's no question about it. Everybody wants to talk about how Eric Berry is not, when they signed him, I saw a lot, I was surprised. I saw a lot of criticism on that Eric Berry signing. But my opinion, or my takeaway was, so how exactly are you going to replace that? It'd be one thing if Eric Berry was 32.
Right.
Had multiple injuries the last couple of years. Eric Berry, besides the ACL injury, and besides obviously having something that none of us can avoid, having cancer, besides those things, Eric Berry has been an elite player at his position on a consistent basis. What more do you want from that position? And furthermore, this guy is an emotional and mental leader for this franchise. You want to talk about value on and off the field, that is Eric Berry. He is class personified. He is a talent that we have never seen at the safety position in this franchise. To me, it's common sense you sign a guy like that long term because you are better to have him than to be without him. And that, to me, like I said, it was a common sense move. I don't understand the criticism. Eric Berry belongs in Kansas City. I want to see a statue. I want to see his ring of honor. I want to see his name there in 10 years. It's common sense, guys. I don't even understand why we have this. I mean, it's ridiculous.
He's great. I like him. Thank God we got him. Man. I was thrilled when we did draft him. All right. The draft is this Thursday. I'm excited about it. I'm going to go with the quarterback. You're going to stay quarterback?
I hope so, man. Because I said it in my videos, guys. I said if the Chiefs don't take a quarterback in the first round, I don't know how much more I can. And I'm not trying to get all emotional or over, ridiculous. It's bad enough we're taking Alex Smith back for another year. It's bad enough. I can't believe that we're seriously justifying bringing him back for another year after the way we lost that playoff game, let alone having a full season where he didn't throw a touchdown to a wide receiver. That alone is horrible in itself. Right. But the fact that he is coming back after a game like he had against the Steelers, missing 3 touchdowns at least that we can remember.
And Kelsey didn't help.
Yeah, well, that's fair. But the point is we're giving a year 5 for Alex Smith. If we do that, plus not bringing a quarterback in the first round, I am at a point where I'm like, you know what? This team does not take winning seriously. And I'm not talking about 10 wins in a season. I'm talking about real wins. I'm talking about playoff wins because we don't have them. That's the point. So if they don't do that in the first round, Shane, we might have to make another video, and it's going to have a lot more expletives. So forgive us ahead of time.
I appreciate all the people that follow me. Nick Gillespie with the notes he sends me about the draft picks. I appreciate Lance. Thanks for helping me. Check out his KC Beard Company. This is his coaster he gave me. Yeah, check out kcbeard.com. He's got his gear into Danny Duffy. Danny Duffy took it into the Royals locker room. Talk about that real quick. How'd you get Danny Duffy to take your stuff into the Royals locker room?
Well, as you can see, I like to talk. So what I did is, after Duffy got his contract, I reached out to Duffy and I was like, "Hey, man, congrats! I know you like to grow your beard out. You're a Kansas City guy. You're big on the local culture. I'd like to introduce you to that. I own a company called KC Beard Co. And we sell and handcraft 100% organic ingredient products, oils, balms, and waxes for the beard. And I hit him up. I just simply sent that out to him. He a day later hit me up, and he's been nothing but great to us since then. We saw Ian Kennedy the other night after he threw those 8-inning shutout. He wore our shirt at the press conference. That's the kind of support that I was looking for, and it's huge. I cannot thank these guys enough. If you guys are looking for a product like that, check out kcbeardco.com. We're in 20-plus retailers in the local area like the Bunker, Midcoast Modern, Made in Kansas City, West Side Story, out in Lawrence as well, Sharks, Hobbs, places like that. Definitely check that out, guys. I really appreciate, we started out as a small company, didn't have a lot of retailers, to now where we're getting Royals players, in the peaks of their careers, rocking our stuff, believing in our products. That means a lot. That definitely stands out for us. And like I said, man, to see where the company's going now, I think we're on a good track. And I just appreciate all the support, man. I appreciate you letting me, touch on that, on this video. Yeah.
That's Lance Twidwell from the Spoken and Casey Beard Company. Check him out at the Spoken. He keeps track of NBA playoffs. He's on top of it. If you like the NBA, I haven't gave a crap about the NBA since the Kings left. My Kings left in 1985. I didn't care about Michael Jordan blowing up because my Kings were gone. But he breaks down all the basketball playoffs, everything on the Spoken. Check him out. For Shaggyshane, let's get that quarterback in the first round, Lance.
Let's do it.
I'm out of here. Go Chiefs!